In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another Friday. We are on chapter 29, which is Surah Al-Quraysh, which refers to the people of Quraysh, the inhabitants of Mecca at the time and region beyond it as well. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was one of them. So this is a very, very small chapter, 4 verses. And interestingly, in terms of revelation, as you know, last week we talked about Surah Teen. Before that, we were talking about the sun, we were talking about the stars, we talked about all these things. And now is the people and the group of people. And my whole ordeal with this Finding God series has been to read the Quran in the order of revelation, as I've been able to find from Noldec, from Tanzil.net, and a few other sources who have aligned in an order of revelation, and I read the Quran in that order. So we see how the concept gradually developed, because the revelation order is different from the arrangement order. But the arrangement order is also very specific and very well defined by God and executed through Gabriel and Prophet Muhammad. In that arrangement, this chapter comes as chapter 106, which is only 8 before the last chapter. 114 is the last chapter. And right before this is the chapter on the elephant, which we covered, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago. We covered that chapter of the invasion of the house of God, invasion of the Kaaba. So it becomes sort of a couplet. So the elephant chapter is here, and then the people of Quraysh chapter is here. In every Quran in the world, okay, that's the arrangement. So sometimes you see these couplets form throughout the Quran, and there's a chapter here, chapter there, and the chapter, and they all form a triplet or a couplet, and you will see that throughout the Quran in certain locations. It's not by mistake. It's not coincidence. It is always deliberate. Everything that has been written about God and everything that God has done is deliberate. It's not chance. Oh, it just happened. Oh, God didn't care about that. No, there is a lot of method to whatever appears to be madness. And in that regard, the above chapter, the chapter on the elephant, talks about how God protected his house from the invasion of the elephant and Abraha. And remember, we talked about it maybe 10 weeks ago or something, or maybe even longer. This chapter builds upon that and says, oh, look, isn't it surprising that they're grateful, or they should be grateful that we protected them? Something along those lines. So I'm going to read this translation. It's a very short translation. Then I'm going to use Quran 411, which is one of the websites I follow, for a bit of an explanation, because it says some interesting things about the house of God. I'm going to talk about that. So, what is this? Surah Quraysh. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, it is said, it is a great grace from God for the protection of the Quraysh. So here, they're not only referring to the protection of the house of God against the invasion, but also any other protection, because at that time, think about it. Think about it. I think I've mentioned this before. I've seen videos from 100 years ago, and you can find them on YouTube. Living in Paris, living in New York, living in Boston, you can see those videos. And those videos show that in the absence of proper electricity, sanitation facilities, machinery, proper cars, heating, cooling, and so forth, life wasn't very easy. Life wasn't as easy as it is today. And if I may say so, for the majority of the people, for the largest majority of people today, life has never been so easy. If you just go back 100 to 300 years, people like me, with the absence of the middle class, I might have been a peasant. Of course, I would have been a warrior peasant who fought his way to the top and became king. Absolutely. But let's say I couldn't. I would have been a peasant. 99% of the world would have been peasants. There was no middle class. There were no upper middle, lower middle. There were no gradations. There were the nobility, royalty, aristocracy, and the peasants and the working class, and there was nothing in the middle. That was less than 300 years ago. In India, Pakistan, that was less than 100 years ago. So when we consider how much life has improved in the last 100 years, try to think back 1400. Try to think back 2000. When we think back 2000 years, all we think about is Greece. But the Greece that is shown in Alexander or Troy, or all those wonderful Hollywood films, is not really how Greece used to be. They've always shown that people are wearing togas and they're eating grapes and everything's fine and there's water and there's sand. That's not the case. It was ridiculously difficult to live as an individual the farther back you go in time. That's why once we started securing ways of life, population started jumping. I suppose, I can't remember the exact number, but I think in 1960s, the global population was 2 billion. Let that sink in. That was 60 years ago. Now it's almost 8 billion. And I can't remember exactly, but it was 1 billion maybe. It took a long time to go from 1 billion to 2 billion, but from 2 to 8, it just jumped because we were able to secure quality of life. But think back to 1400 years. It is a great grace from God for the protection of the Quraysh. So protection doesn't only means from invasions of a warring tribe. It means from the calamities of the weather. It means heat. It means lack of food. It means so many other things. So they're being protected. And with all those God's grace and protections we cause, the Quraysh, or the caravans of the Quraysh, to set forth safe in winter to the south and in the summer to the north without any fear. So this is just an establishment of, in the previous chapter, look, we protected the house of God against the invasion, and we have protected the people of the Quraysh, and it is a great grace from God, and they can travel south in the summer, and travel south in the winter and north in the summer. So they would go to Palestine and a few other countries when it was really warm. Obviously, try living in Middle East. So let them worship God, the Lord of this house, which is, this house means the Kaaba, he who has fed them against hunger and has made them safe from fear. See, exactly that point. Fed them against hunger, so let them worship, and has made them safe from fear. That's it. That is the chapter. That is it. That is all of it. So there's not much to say here. So you need to understand a bit more of the context. So for the context, I'm going to be using Quran 411, which is a wonderful website. I'm going to talk about the house because it says in the third verse, so let them worship God, the Lord of this house, which means the Kaaba. So this house means the Holy Kaaba. This sentence means that the Quraysh have attained to this blessing only by virtue of the house of God. They themselves acknowledge that the 360 idols which they worship are not its Lord, but God alone is its Lord, or Allah as this in Arabic. He alone saved them from the invasion of the army of the elephants, discussed already. Him alone they had invoked for help against Abraha's army. It was his house, the keeping of which enhanced their rank and position in Arabia. For before that, they were dispersed and commanded no position whatever. Exactly what I had been saying. Think 1400 years ago. Think Dubai, think Abu Dhabi, think Riyadh, but think no hotels, no air conditioning, no cars, no channels of water, no palm trees. It's just that desert. Think living in those times. It's not an easy time. Like the common Arab tribes, there were two scattered fractions of a race, but when they rallied around this house in Mecca and began to serve it, they become honorable throughout Arabia. Their trade caravans began to visit every part of the country fearlessly. Again, back to the verse. Therefore, whatever they have achieved, it has been possible only by the help of the Lord of this house. Therefore, they should worship him alone. So again, it says the allusion implies that before the Quraysh came to Mecca, There were scattered people in Arabia and living miserable lives. After the gathering together in Mecca, they began to prosper, and the Prophet Abraham's, peace be upon him, prayer for them was literally fulfilled when he had prayed, Lord, I have settled some of my descendants in a barren valley near your sacred house. Lord, I have done this in the hope that they will establish prayer there. So turn the hearts of the people towards them and provide fruits for their food. Perfect. And this is also mentioned in the Quran, may I just say so. So, yeah, this is the story. That's why I for one have concerns with organized religion. Personalized religion, I understand very clearly. I understand how it is a covenant between man and God, woman and God, or whatever you identify as that and God, or that and divinity if you don't believe in God. I understand that. I understand that faith is one of the most personal things, if not the most personal, faith and belief and trust in something. I understand all of that. And I understand how we can have common values where we can logically agree that it is good not to murder people. I think we can agree on that. Similarly, we can find strong rational reasoning for it is good not to steal. We can find rationales for it with contingencies, and even mathematically we can prove that stealing on the whole is not good. I believe we can find rational reasoning for a lot of these things. And I know, Jordan Peterson, you would disagree with me. If you're watching this, let's have a conversation about it, because I'd love to explore that more. But so as individuals, I understand that a religion can function for the individual. Organized religion, I have yet to grasp completely. I understand that it brings people together, it unites them. Unity as a group can allow you to experience things which, as an individual, you may not be able to. That is why it is said that praying in the mosque with the group of people is, I think, 27 times more blessing worthy or full of blessings than praying alone in your house. So there are invocations for that in the Quran. And I remember we were celebrating Ramadan a couple of years ago at Oxford, and one of my friends from India, he's a Hindu, he's one of my really close friends, I asked him to join me for one of the iftars, and he said, are you sure it's okay? I was like, of course it's okay. We'd love to share food and just have you there and talk. Before we broke the fast, and then all the Muslims prayed. Since he was a Hindu, he sat in the back and he just watched us pray. And it was around, I'd say, 100 to 120 people, men and women in separate quarters, praying together behind an imam. When the prayer finished, I asked my friend to come and join me for the iftar, and he said, in Hinduism, I can't think of many occasions where this happens, where all of you are involved in the same type of worship. And I said, no, of course it happens. You go to the temple, you worship. He said, no, temple is between you and God, and you sing and you chant, but the worship is between you and God. This was surreal, and he's from India, so he has known of Islam and he has seen Islam happen. But sitting in the mosque watching all of us pray, and he's an incredibly smart person. I'm not naming him because maybe he doesn't want to be named, but he's an incredibly smart person. And when he said that, I watched him and I said, yeah, you're right. Whenever I look at Hinduism, I try to say, wow, it's so individual. It's so unique. It is so customized to the person. For example, I had a professor from India 7, 8 years ago, and she told me that she worships the Lord Shiva, and her father worships the god Hanuman, and her mother worships a different god. And my first question as follower of an Abrahamic religion was, don't you ever have an argument about whose God is better? Don't you have an argument about whose God would beat whose God in a fight? Because that is the mentality that the monotheistic faiths would easily jump to. Oh, if you have two of them, what if they have a fight? Right? Who is right? Who wins at the end? And she said, no. Why would you think that? Why would you think that the gods are having an argument? No, they're different gods for different things. And And that was a concept which was very difficult for me to grasp. So having my Indian friend, Hindu Indian friend, sitting there and coming and saying to me, we never pray in this congregation like fashion. There may be occasions, but on the whole, in Hinduism, it doesn't happen. Even in Christianity, I've noticed, because I went to Oxford, so I've attended a lot of masses and a lot of hymns at the church. So I've sang a lot of songs, but it's not the same. You can easily excuse yourself, you can leave. There's a lot of freedom there, but being involved in collective worship. So I still don't know how organized religion of groups works, because I always try to question it from the rational perspective. Who has given you the power to be in charge? That kind of thing. And also, my interpretation is different from your interpretation. And if it is interpretivist, then how can we have one over the other? So we do majorities and minorities, and that is the organized religion. So that's something I struggle with, and I know a lot of people who have that question. I don't have the answer. I really don't. What I am saying is though, that the beauty of the house of God, as I've just discussed today, is probably one of the reasons, because of the house of God. If you're Muslims, I'm talking about the Umrah and the Hajj, all the pilgrimages. If you're not a Muslim, if ever you have watched anything on TV or the internet, and you have watched all the clips of the world, so the Niagara is falling and the Eiffel Tower and New York and the traffic and the Great Wall of China and the sun setting over the Amazon forest, one clip in the middle of that is always a black box in the middle of the screen from aerial view, and hundreds of thousands of people dressed in white or black circling around it. That is the Kaaba. In Islam, that is the house of God. And it is a uniting feature. And my parents have been there multiple times, and I'm definitely planning to go. But what that does is that it brings nearly 2 billion Muslims from all around the world around that one box. And it's a box. We believe it's a house. We believe it is venerated. But if you don't ascribe to the Islamic religion, you might think, oh, it's just a black box. Fair enough. The materiality is irrelevant. What matters is that black box is able to unite 2 billion people. 2 billion. I know a lot of Muslims who are apostates, who have left the faith. I know Muslims who are critical of the faith. I know Muslims who are devout followers. I know Muslims who are moderate. I know a vast variety of Muslims. I can't think of a single one who has something negative to say about the Kaaba, about Mecca, about the house of God. I don't think that. Those who have been there talk a bit about how strict it is. You can't show your hair. You have to walk in this manner. You have to wait. You can't do this. All those things are fair. But you could say the same about the Vatican, or you could say the same about anywhere else where worship happens, or politics happens, or a concert happens. You can say that about any congregation, but nothing negative about the Kaaba. And I think one of the reasons for that is the great uniting capacity of the house of God. Because I have to tell you, millions and millions go there every year to see that black box, to fulfill the requirements of the faith, and to walk around it at least 7 times. And it's an incredible experience. I have dreamt about it. I've thought about it, because I know that there's nothing in this cosmos that I love more than God. And God, who I can't quantify, who I can't measure, who I can't falsify or prove or verify. Yes, that God. The God of my belief, not the God of the scientific instrument, because I can't prove it. But the God of my belief. And I'm a man of faith. And I love God. And I know for a fact that when I go to the pilgrimage in Mecca and I see the Kaaba, I might faint. I might suffer. Oh my God, I didn't expect this. Or I might cry, I might laugh, or I might push against all the 7 foot tall Muslims from Africa or Brazil or wherever. And I'm going to elbow all of you out of my way. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how quick or nimble you are. I have found my way through every obstacle. I'll find my way through that because I will grab the sheet with the house of God and just be like, just leave me here and I'll be fine. So, and I have to tell you, the majority of the 2 billion, nearly 2 billion Muslims in the world have the same desire regarding the house of God. There are many who don't read this book. There are many. There are many who say, I have problems with the Quran. There are many who are critical. I'm critical. I'm extremely critical of the book. I think about it. That's what this series is doing. But no one says, oh, I don't want to go to the Kaaba. It's too hot. Oh, I don't want to go to the Kaaba. Okay, I'll go, but I'll just take a photograph. I'll just take a selfie and come back. No. It has some sort of a uniting quality where everyone starts saying, yeah, okay, if I get a chance to go, I'll go. And people go and they come back changed. Now, I wonder, yeah, that's Montreal. I wonder if the change, because they were going with the expectation of being changed, would a non-Muslim experience the same thing? And we can definitely have a discussion about whether Muslims should be allowed in the Kaaba or not. I don't know all the details. If I were in control, I would allow everyone to come as long as things are kept secure and safe. But I don't know all the details. Maybe there's a decree which doesn't allow it in Saudi Arabia. So they know much more than I do. So I don't know anything about it. But yeah, it has this insane capacity to unite. And it makes me think maybe organized religion or religion as a group is something that one needs to think about. It might have merit. So yeah, this is the chapter for today. Next week is Surah Al-Qari'ah, which means the calamity or the striking hour. Very interesting chapter again. But thank you for joining me. Whoever has joined me, even if no one joins me, I intend on doing this for the next year or so until I'm done with all the chapters in this beautiful book, and then start the Bible and the Vedas and all the other books. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend. I shall see you next week. Okay. While I'm leaving, I was completely immersed in the experience. Usman Pasha Siddiqui, this is my brother. I didn't know you went. When did you go? Did you go? I was completely immersed in the experience. If you're online, you're still online, so you're probably writing something. Okay, I'll wait because this is my brother. Of course, I'll wait for my brother to write something. But I didn't know you went. We shall wait for him to write something. Come on. I was completely immersed in the experience. I can't remember when you went. Okay, if you're not writing something, I'm going to go offline because I was about to leave. Okay, maybe he isn't writing something. Okay, anyway, if you do write something, Usman Bey, just write it in the comments for people to follow. Yeah, that's how I would say it as well. But ladies and gentlemen, my brother, I was talking about the experience you gave me with your talk. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please follow him on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. He's a fantastic business person, and he's also developing an authority on religion, and is a wonderful person to talk to when it comes to Islam and religion, and also nutrition. And that he has these specific topics of interest in which he knows more than so many people. And yeah, I'd love to have him online one day and have a conversation. Usman Pasha Siddiqui, please follow him. Thank you.